Hi, Phantoms fans. Bob Rotrug here. We're talking with Parker Gahagen, and our goaltender this year has had quite a career and quite a story going back to his West Point days, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But I want to talk about first, Parks, your season here this year, because here you are, 30 years old. You'd never been with an AHL team and had this much experience in the AHL in a single season before. It had been pretty scattered. Now you've played 13 games with the Phantoms. Previously, you'd played 12 games in the AHL in your entire career. This is a huge opportunity for you, and you're embracing it. And at 30 years old, this is an exciting season for you.
Yeah, obviously, I'm very grateful for Lappy and coaching staff and everyone just for giving me the opportunity. Obviously, it's not everywhere you go you get the same opportunity. So can't be thankful enough for that. And I think just going into every game, it's just all about giving the team best chance to win, and just trying to give it everything you got.
Lappy had told me that a few weeks ago you had approached him. You were a little bothered by a couple of the goals you had allowed, and you had even told him, I need to be better. Where does that come from, where you had went to the coach and approached him to say that? Because he told us, I have all the respect in the world for Parks for coming to me with that approach. You had felt bad about maybe letting the team down a little bit on one or two that you had allowed.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, especially coming from going down to Reading for a little bit and, having just have like a lot of success there and, a lot of ECHL places. And, I think you can tell when, you're making pretty much all the saves you need to make in order to get the win. I think kind of really leading up to that conversation, I told him I thought I was playing well, but, I think the team just needed a little bit more. So just wanted to let him know and clarify that was kind of like what my perspective was. So, it was just an additional challenge for myself. And, I think that was just kind of what the team needed. And that was leading up to the Bridgeport game. So, fortunately I was able to kind of back up my words in a way.
Yeah. And one goal gets in past you that I don't think should have counted. That's a different story. It shouldn't have. But anyway, you've had a lot of success in the ECHL in your career, but when you were getting called up to the AHL, a lot of times it's to just sit there at the bench and wait your turn, sometimes the middle game of a 3-game stretch. It's hard to prove yourself when you barely get that chance to play. And I know last year, how much were you up in Hartford and sitting and did not play in a single game, but you were up there for several weeks.
Yeah, there was a stretch in December, and then in playoffs I was up there with Hartford. And it's always a bit of an adjustment just going from ECHL to AHL as far as speed and some of the reads and stuff. So it's been great being here this year, being here for lengthy spans and kind of getting to settle in and getting adjusted to it. So it's definitely helped in that sense. And again, just thankful to be able to be here for that long.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Well, your background, West Point Army guy, is this something that you'd always sort of thought about, or did it just sort of come along when they approached you when you were a standout goaltender in high school in Buffalo? What was the whole process there for you to join the Army and go that way?
Yeah, they approached me when I was playing juniors. I played juniors in Buffalo as well in the OJHL, and they came to one of my games and kind of gave me some homework, which ended up being a lot of foreshadowing for the next few years. But up to that point, I really hadn't even considered it. I had a few offers, but up to that point, I didn't really know much about it, honestly. So once I started looking into it, it looked, something. I've always been a fan of history, and I thought it looked like a great challenge and set you up well for life afterwards as well. So kind of going into it, there really hadn't been many people playing pro afterwards. So I was kind of looking at it more as kind of going where I was wanted and where I'd get a lot of opportunity. And fortunately, I was able to get a lot of starts. And my last 2 years there, I was able to have a good amount of success. So and it worked out in its own way. It wasn't an easy path, just having to take some time off to do some Army stuff. But we're here now.
Right, yeah. Well, and while you're there at Army and your last couple of seasons, and Hobie Baker candidate and Mike Richter Award candidate as well. So now you're starting to get the idea, pro hockey actually could be in your future. But I was reading that this was maybe not exactly a lock for you because of your obligations with the Army, and there were certain exceptions that had to be made, and you're kind of going back and forth. Am I allowed to train and stay with hockey while you also are serving your country and going through that whole balance?
Right. When I was at school, I was able to get a week off my senior year in order to go to San Jose, who I was supposed to sign entry travel with them, but then just due to different legal issues, I wasn't able to sign the contract or whatever. So, yeah, it was always a bit of a balancing act, kind of just figuring out what I was and wasn't allowed to do. I don't think there was anything that was really set in stone. It was more so, kind of one person's opinion or whatnot. So going into graduation, there was a policy where I was able to, transfer. So I'll say this, that when you normally graduate, you owe 5 years active duty and then 3 years reserve time. So when I was going into my last month where I was going to graduate, there was a policy where you could transfer all your active duty time to reserve time. But then that same month it got reversed back to having to do 2 years active duty before being allowed to even consider doing anything else. So fortunately, I was able to join what's called a world-class athlete program. I was able to join that and play in San Jose the year after I graduated. And then, the program was kind of based off of the Olympics. So when I wasn't selected for the Olympic team, I had to basically go and join just a regular unit. I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado Springs. So got stationed there starting in February 2018, and then I was able to rejoin the program in September of 2019. So, good year and a half where I was just doing normal Army stuff, playing beer league, just trying to stay in it.
Which is not ideal for training for hockey. I mean, I know you're proud to serve your country, but now you've got, you have this real hockey passion too, and you're kind of left sitting there unknown, like how good could I be? And you're not able to play. And I think also, maybe before Colorado, there were some practices with the Liberty University club team. And were you in Fort Sumter and commuting up a little bit or something like that? Or
I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So I was, my wife went to Liberty University, so we had some connections there. So yeah, we would
4 hours to go and skate with another team,
that
right?
Was, so I guess, that was between graduation and going to San Jose. I had to do 3 months of this basic training. So whenever you graduate, you have a basic training for whichever branch that you're selected for. So, for my branch, I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and that was no. There's not a lot of hockey going on there. So that was one of Liberty ended up being a nice option just to kind of stay in it. And then kind of while I was doing that training, I was able to take a week off, go play in San Jose's rookie camp, and then had to go back. And I ended up getting back to San Jose and I think it was Halloween I flew there, so it was a little bit later on in the season. So that was a little bit weird of an entry into professional hockey.
Right, but while you're there in the military, you're thriving also, and now you're an Army captain, correct?
Yeah.
So
Army captain,
I mean, you're moving up in the ranks as I guess one is supposed to do. What kind of pride do you have in the role that you've played in the military and the decision that you made to go to West Point and continue on with that service?
Yeah, I mean, it's been it's awesome tradition, obviously, and I think one of the biggest things I was thankful for is just the different people I was able to meet, at Fort Carson and just throughout school as well. I mean, you're obviously meeting just quality people, and especially in the Army, there's people that you from all walks of life that you wouldn't have met otherwise. Obviously, in the hockey community, there's people have their own journeys and whatnot to get to this point, but in general, it's a similar type of person that you're meeting. So
I was going to say there have to be some real similarities there with the brotherhood that you have with your Army compadres and in the hockey locker room. It's some differences, but a lot of similarities too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all about teamwork, obviously, and being able to, be compatible and be able to work as a team. So I think as far as that type of personality, I think that's one similarity.
Do you think that this year, at 30 years old, do you think you're having your best season, or you're better now than maybe at 25, 26? Obviously, you had a little rust to shake off when you got back into hockey at first, but now, as I said, you're here at the AHL, you're doing very well also, as opposed to just getting one or two shots and then, okay, go back down to the coast. Do you feel like, hey, this is actually sort of my time and my season? I'm really taking this and running with it.
Yeah, I think like every year I feel like I get a little bit better, and you get a little bit more adjusted and comfortable to whatever league or whatever level you're playing at. So I think getting this experience is very valuable, and I think whatever level you're at, you kind of adjust to that level of play. So playing at the AHL, I think I feel like my game's always a little bit better than when I'm playing the ECHL, and that's just a matter of the pace of play and just the reads and all of that stuff. So I would say, I would definitely say this is probably the best I've been thus far.
We love watching out there. It's Army Captain Parker Gahagen, everyone. You know him as number 31. Thank you for doing this. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Bob.